Welcome back, everyone, to the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode will be the Divisional Round preview. We'll start off by looking at a wild card weekend recap, as well as the wild card him performance of the week. After that, we will advance into the Divisional Round preview and my Divisional Round picks. Let's jump into it today. Before we do that, please make sure you press that follow button right here on Spotify, as well as check out the Instagram and Twitter for all things Wedge 52 Gridiron. Let's jump in with last week's first wildcard matchup. The Cleveland Browns taking on the Houston Texans. Texans won that one and will advance to the divisional round 45-14 over the Cleveland Browns. Quarterback Joe Flacco went 34 of 46, 307 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Running back Kareem Hunt had 8 carries for 26 yards and a touchdown. David Njoku, 7 catches for 93 yards on the day for him. And then looking at that Houston Texans team, rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud has absolutely been lights out this entire season. He went 16 of 21, 274 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in his rookie playoff debut. Devin Singletary, 13 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins, 6 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And tight end Brevin Jordan had 1 catch for a 76-yard touchdown on the day. That Houston defense, although allowing some big chunk plays, especially to Cleveland tight ends in this matchup, they were, other than that, pretty good against that Cleveland Browns offense. They had 4 sacks on the day and 2 pick sixes off of Joe Flacco. One thing to note on that, Houston Texans having 4 sacks against the Cleveland Browns, they were very depleted on their offensive line. I believe, at the tackle position, having their 3rd and 4th, depth charted tackles appearing. Even the 5th depth charted tackle did play some snaps, while one of the others, was injured and getting medical attention on the sideline. So definitely, a weakened offensive line for that Cleveland Browns team did not help Joe Flacco. Time in the pocket did not help their run game at all. Leading rusher Kareem Hunt only had 26 yards on the day. Anyways, Houston Texans will advance. They placed the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. So we'll talk about that later. Moving to the next wild card weekend, matchup. The Miami Dolphins 7, Kansas City Chiefs 26. So the Kansas City Chiefs will be advancing. They head to Buffalo next week. In this matchup, though, Tua went 20 out of 39, 199 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, as well as 3 rushes for 25 yards. They struggled very much to establish the run game. Mostert only had 8 carries for 33 yards, and Tyreek Hill had 5 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Establishing a run game for that Miami Dolphins offense would have been huge for them in a very, very cold game. They were unable to do so because of that Kansas City defense holding strong. Kind of a sleeper pick, top 10 defense in the league this season. Kind of showed that, once again, stopping the Miami Dolphins offense. They've struggled all season long. They did struggle all season long as their season is over against, better defenses or even just teams, better teams overall, 500 plus win percentage teams, playoff teams. They struggle all season. It'll be interesting to see, what kind of happens for the Miami Dolphins in the offseason. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, 23 out of 41, 262 yards, 1 passing touchdown, as well as 2 rushes for 41 yards. Running back Isaiah Pacheco and the Chiefs did establish the run much better than Miami. Pacheco had 24 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. Rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice continuing his very good run, the second half of the season with 8 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown in his playoff debut. And then Travis Kelce had 7 catches for 71 yards in the victory. Kansas City Chiefs advance and will head to Buffalo next week. In the upset of the week, the Green Bay Packers beat the Dallas Cowboys 48-32 in Dallas. The number 7 seed, I believe the first 7th seed to win a playoff game since the NFL's, playoff expansion a couple of years ago. Dak Prescott, 41 out of 60, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Tony Pollard just 15 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had 9 catches for 110 yards. Michael Gallup, 6 catches for 103 yards. Tight end Ferguson, 10 catches for 93 yards and 3 touchdowns. Looking like, stat line, box score, reading very big numbers for that Dallas offense. 48 to 32 score looks, closer than it is. I believe there was a 42 to 16 scoreboard point in the fourth quarter for the Green Bay Packers. They were up big the whole game. A lot of big plays, two touchdowns towards the end for the Cowboys, but they were really out of it at that point. Jordan Love continues his, nice little run that he's having as the Green Bay quarterback. He went 16 of 21, 272 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Almost identical stats to rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud. Jordan Love, somewhat feels like a rookie at times. Third year in the league for him. Just hasn't been the starter since now. His first full season in the league. A very nice playoff debut by Jordan Love. Got the job done. Aaron Jones helped him out a lot. 21 carries for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. And he found Romeo Doubs 6 times for 151 yards and a touchdown in the major upset victory for the Green Bay Packers. They advance and will play the San Francisco 49ers next weekend. Moving into the Rams at Lions. Matthew Stafford's return to Detroit came up just short, falling to the Lions 23-24. Matthew Stafford went 25 of 36, 367 yards, and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions and a lot of boos from the Detroit fans at the beginning of the game. I understand, he was your quarterback. A lot of people upset about the fans. Not a lot of non-Detroit fans upset about booing Stafford. Look, this is the playoffs. Detroit Lions, they haven't been in the playoffs for a long time. Haven't won a playoff game in 30-plus years. They needed that one. That one was for them. They love and respect Matthew Stafford. They will bring him a warm welcome home next regular season when the Rams head to Detroit to face them in the regular season of the 2024 season year there. Kyron Williams, 13 carries for 61 yards. Puka Nacua, phenomenal rookie year. 9 catches for 181 yards and a touchdown. And then linebacker Ernest Jones all over the field. 9 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for LA. On the Detroit side of things, Jared Goff went 22 out of 27, 277 yards, and a passing touchdown. His dual threat running backs continue to show out. Probably the best running back duo in the league. Potentially both top 10 running backs this year, even with Jahmyr Gibbs being a rookie. David Montgomery had 14 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs had 8 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown, as well as 4 catches for 43 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 7 catches for 110 yards, and Josh Reynolds, former Ram as well, 5 catches for 80 yards in the big win for Detroit. Congratulations to the Lions. They advance and they will face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next weekend after the Buccaneers beat the Eagles. Talk about them in a moment. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the Steelers at Bills. This game was supposed to be on Sunday, got pushed to Monday afternoon because of the weather situation up in Buffalo. Steelers lost 17-31 to the Buffalo Bills. Mason Rudolph went 22 out of 39, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Tight end Pat Freiermuth had 5 catches for 76 yards. George Pickens had 5 catches for 50 yards, as well as a fumble, and then 1 rush for 15 yards for him. On the other side of it, Josh Allen had 21 out of 30 passing completions, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions, as well as 8 rushes for 74 yards and a touchdown. Josh Allen's first game without a turnover since December 15th against the Dallas Cowboys, nearly a month ago for the Bills and Josh Allen. James Cook had 18 carries for 79 yards. Dalton Kincaid, 3 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. And then Stephon Diggs, who, I mentioned needs to get going for the Buffalo Bills if they want to make a playoff run. 7 catches for 52 yards, a decent start at that. But I do believe that the Buffalo Bills need to get Stephon Diggs going even more if they would like, and the Bills are playing the Kansas City Chiefs next weekend. And then if they want to advance and, further their season, Diggs needs to be more involved. One of the premier talents in the league at wide receiver position. And then moving into the final wild card matchup of the previous weekend. Like I said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Philadelphia Eagles 32-9. Jalen Hurts went 25 out of 35, 250 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift just 10 carries for 34 yards. And Devontae Smith was spectacular. A couple very nice grabs. Another nice grab that he ended up being out of bounds on. 8 catches for 148 yards. Philadelphia Eagles had, the most disappointing end to the season. I mean, me as a Ravens fan personally don't care. But, in the NFL, worst ending to the season. Finishing the year, losing 6 out of their last 7. After being the number 1 seed for a majority of the season, started the year 10-1. Absolute collapse by that Eagles team. And then after the game, announced the next morning, broke the next morning. Jason Kelce, longtime center for the Philadelphia Eagles, 13 seasons in the league, I believe, 6 first-team All-Pros, announced that he is retiring from the game of football. A great career by Kelce. And then on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers side, Baker Mayfield went 22 out of 36, 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Running back Rachaad White, 18 carries for 72 yards. Tight end Cade Otton, 8 catches for 89 yards. And then outside of Otton, the tight end, wide receiving core, wide receiver by committee in this matchup. A lot of guys caught a couple passes. Moore had 2 for 66 and a touchdown. Palmer had 1 for 56 and a touchdown. Godwin 4 for 45 and a touchdown. And a lot of other pass catchers catching 1 or 2 passes, sprinkled in there as well for that Buccaneers offense. I mentioned they could be dangerous with the guys of Rachaad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. As long as Baker Mayfield stays locked in, I said he needed to have more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, and less interceptions than Jalen Hurts if they wanted a shot, and he checked off all of those boxes. Yards, touchdowns, they both had 0 interceptions in this one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers advanced and played the Detroit Lions, like I mentioned earlier. That is the wild card weekend recap. Now moving into the wild card him performance of the week. A couple of guys whose names were in the running for the him performance of the week. Impressive stat lines, big wins, things like that. Include C.J. Stroud, Ferguson, Love, Aaron Jones, Puka Nacua, Josh Allen, and Baker Mayfield. And this week's him performance of the week for the wild card round is Green Bay Packers running back Aaron Jones. 21 carries for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns, as well as 1 catch for 13 yards on the day. 131 total yards and 3 touchdowns in the big Packers upset of the week against a Dallas defense that was supposed to be one of the better defensive units in the NFL. Got absolutely embarrassed by Aaron Jones and company of that Packers offense. Congratulations to Aaron Jones on being the wild card him performance of the week. Now moving into the divisional round preview. In this section of the episode, I'll be giving each matchup, I'll be giving units to watch, the biggest key and the X factor for each matchup. Starting off with the Texans at Ravens. They face off Saturday at 4:30. A couple of units to watch, and this one is going to be the Texans offense versus Ravens defense. In terms of third down percentage, that Texans offense is 19th in the league, facing the number 7 defense in the league on third down. Looking at rushing, this is going to be a big part of it for them, for that Texans team, who does not run the ball very well, 22nd in the league in rushing yards per game, facing the Ravens defense, who is 14th in rush yards allowed. And then for points, that Texans offense is 13th in the league at points scored per game, facing the number 1 ranked defense. Baltimore Ravens only allowing 16.5 points per game this season. Those are going to be the units to watch in this matchup. And then the biggest key in this game is going to be the Texans offense on third down. Last 3 weeks since C.J. Stroud's return to the starting quarterback position after dealing with a concussion, in that late to mid part of the season there, 31% on third down this season, facing, top 7 defense on third down. Definitely a defense that can hurt you in many ways. Roquan Smith, Matt Bike, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, 4 all-pros on that defense. They can punish you if you're not in position, a favorable third down for them, especially an offensive unit here that has struggled on third down, 31% the last 3 weeks, just 38% this entire season. And then the X factor for this matchup is going to be the Texans start. The Texans have been playing. They played last week, obviously, going against the Ravens, who have, the starters have had 3 weeks off. Did not play last week, did not play week 18. Haven't played a game since, that Miami matchup. Feels like forever ago for Ravens fans. I myself, I'm sure many other Ravens fans are itching for Ravens football again. That is the X factor for them. Could be a huge start for the Texans if there is just a little bit of rust for the Ravens and the Texans capitalize on that. I would expect the first quarter to, not be the prettiest of Ravens football. I'm hoping I'm wrong. If I am wrong, whoop-de-doo, big trust. If not, though, I expect the Ravens, to get off to a slow start and dial it in, make it a football game in that second quarter and second half. That is the things to note for the Texans at Ravens. Moving into the next matchup of the weekend, the Packers at 49ers. They play Saturday at 8:15 Eastern Time. The units to watch in this matchup include the 49ers offense going against that Packers defense. The Packers defense held up well against the Cowboys offense, who's also one of the better offenses in the league. 49ers are, even better offensively in terms of rushing yards. The 49ers offense is third in rushing yards per game, of course, led by Christian McCaffrey, going against that Packers defense, who is 28th in the league in rush yards allowed. Not a good look. And also not a good team on third down, ranked 25th in the league on third down defense for the Packers, going against the 4th ranked third down offense in the San Francisco 49ers. So, that's a combination of a good, strong running game as well as third downs could be problematic for that Packers defense. If they're getting over the expected, yards per attempt here on first and second running downs with Christian McCaffrey, most likely, that's going to put them in position for third and short, which is only going to accentuate the problem of the Packers' third down defense. And then moving to the biggest key in this matchup is going to be forcing turnovers on quarterback Brock Purdy. In this matchup against Dallas, the Green Bay Packers had 2 interceptions on Dak Prescott, one of them being a pick 6. They only have 12 turnovers forced on the entire season. Definitely not an ideal number after 18 games played to only be forcing 12 turnovers throughout the entire season. It's going to be extra critical to force turnovers on quarterback Brock Purdy in their 4 losses that Brock Purdy played in. Week 18, they lost to the Rams. Brock Purdy did not play. In the 4 losses, though, that Brock Purdy played in, he had 10 turnovers in those 4 games, only having 13 turnovers on the season. 10 out of 13 turnovers in their 4 losses. It's definitely important for that Packers defense to force turnovers on Brock Purdy. They have the pieces there to do it with that dominant edge rushers, 3-4 dominant edge rushers that can get you the quarterback, as well as a decent secondary unit led by Jair Alexander, who had an interception against Dak Prescott in that upset win for Green Bay. And then the X factor for this one is going to be Jordan Love. Jordan Love has been hot. He's been playing very, very well the past few weeks. He played very well against the Dallas defense, who is one of the better defenses in the league. I would say the 49ers defense is better than the Dallas Cowboys defense. Both of them good. I would give the edge to the 49ers. He's going to have to do that again this week for the Packers to have a chance. Been hot, the last 4 weeks, like I mentioned, But other than Dallas, the defenses he's played has been Chicago, Minnesota, and Carolina. The Bears, Vikings, and Panthers, Panthers and Bears towards the bottom of the league in terms of, overall team, as well as their defensive units. And the Minnesota Vikings, missed the playoffs by a spot or two. I believe they were in the hunt week 18, but ultimately didn't make it. So Love, yes, he's been hot, but not been playing, the best of best defenses, except for Dallas, who is, definitely a top 10 defense, probably top 7 or 8. I'll say the 49ers probably around a 5th ranked defense, give or take a spot. Moving into the next matchup, Buccaneers at Detroit Lions. They play Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. Units to watch from this one's going to be that Lions offense versus the Buccaneers defense. In terms of pass yards, the Lions are second in the league, facing a 29th ranked pass defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Detroit Lions are 5th in points per game. One thing that the Buccaneers are good at is holding teams once they get down close to that end zone. They are ranked 6th in the league at points allowed defensively. Detroit Lions have, an extensive array of weapons on offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Jameson Williams, just to name, I could keep going a little bit with, that rotational good guy with either Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds like we saw in this last game. The Lions have weapons on offense that, can make you pay, can definitely get in the end zone. We'll see if that Buccaneers defense holds up. Biggest key in this one is going to be the Buccaneers run defense specifically. That is their strong point on defense, stopping the run and stopping people from getting to the end zone. Other than that, they are a bottom-ranked defense in total yards, third down defense, pass yards allowed, things like that. Force, I would say, an average amount of turnovers, but 5th in the league in yards per game rushing. Going to go against the best running back duo in the league, probably, in my opinion, the best running back duo in the league. But Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both of them had incredible seasons. Just their rushing stats alone this season, Jahmyr Gibbs, 182 carries, 945 yards, and 10 rushing touchdowns as a rookie. And David Montgomery, 219 carries for 1,015 yards and 13 touchdowns. So collectively, 1,960 yards and 23 touchdowns out of the two Detroit tailbacks. Buccaneers defense definitely going to want to stop or limit those two players as much as possible to increase their chances there. And then the big X factor for this one is going to be the Buccaneers' third down defense. They're 23rd in the league on third down. Lions offense is 10th in third down success rates. But not only that, even if the Buccaneers get a stop on third down, Dan Campbell, as all of us know, as Lions fans know, Dan Campbell is one of the most aggressive coaches in terms of going for it on fourth down. So even if the Buccaneers get a third down stop, that means they're not always out of the water in the situation, which ultimately turns fourth down into a third down, a condensed third down, really. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, or 4th and 2, 4th and 3. In short, don't be surprised if Dan Campbell goes for it more times than not. That's what they've done all season. It's got them to this position, especially going against a Buccaneers defense who struggles on third down, can turn into fourth down struggles as well. Moving into the next and final matchup of the divisional round weekend, Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills face off Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Units to watch in this one is going to be the Bills offense versus the Chiefs defense. Both, units that are, borderline top 5 respectively on, Bills offense and Chiefs defensive side of the ball. In terms of yards, Bills offense is 6 yards per game versus that Chiefs defense who is 3rd in yards allowed, as well as 6 in points for the Bills offense and 2nd in points allowed for the Kansas City Chiefs, 2nd just behind the Baltimore Ravens. I believe the Chiefs are at like 17.4 points per game, so less than a point behind the Baltimore Ravens defense. Definitely a slept-on unit that has kept their lackluster offense at times in the games this season. So definitely units to watch there. Biggest key for this matchup is going to be Kansas City touchdowns. Obviously, they have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, both guys that can change a game at any moment. Overall, this season, their red zone touchdown percentage is just 52% on the season. One of the bottom, I think they're like 25th out of 32 teams this season for red zone touchdown percentage. But then looking further into that, the last 3 weeks, they have just 30% touchdown percentage in the red zone. Definitely not ideal against going two defenses. The Bills defense in terms of points, I want to say, fifth or sixth, maybe seventh in points allowed. So, good defensive unit there too in terms of, stopping points being put on the board. Definitely going to be critical for the Chiefs to try and take advantage of touchdowns when they get into the red zone. Very important for them. Their points will be at a premium in this matchup. And then heading into the X Factor. For the X Factor for this matchup is going to be Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, he's been playing solid, been having solid stat lines, not the Travis Kelce stat lines that we've become accustomed to, but been having solid stat lines. But at the same time, Travis Kelce has been having more drops this season than we've been accustomed to seeing from Travis Kelce. I know he had one or two in that matchup against Miami Dolphins game. I didn't get to watch it besides clips because it was on Peacock. That's the story for another day, why they put it on Peacock to get people to pay for a playoff game. Whatever. Moving on, though, why he's an X Factor is because Rashee Rice has been on an absolute tear the past 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, including their wild card matchup against the Miami Dolphins. If teams are definitely starting to pick up on this, Rashee Rice may be starting to draw a couple more double teams, a couple more shadow coverages over the top of him. Could allow Travis Kelce to get even more open opportunities for that Chiefs offense, for Patrick Mahomes to find. Travis Kelce is going to be the biggest X factor in this one if he can capitalize on those open holes, open, zones that Rashee Rice may be drawing away from him, with Kelce struggling a little bit and Rice on the uprise. That's all I have for the division round preview in this week's episode. It leaves me with just one thing, which is my divisional round picks. I'm making these ones off the top of the head right here, just after listening to what I said. Last week, I went 5-1. Only one I missed was the Green Bay Packers major upset over the Dallas Cowboys. This week, I have the Ravens over the Texans, 49ers over the Packers, Lions over the Buccaneers, and the Bills over the Chiefs. That's all I have for this week's episode of the Wedge 52 Gridiron podcast. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you follow me on all platforms, Spotify, Instagram, and Twitter. And most importantly, go Ravens.